Okay, today we're talking about how to write an introduction. This is going to be a fairly short lecture so that you can spend a lot of time writing your introduction using what we're going to talk about really quickly. One of the things you can do is look in your lab manual at lab 51. We will talk about this again. You'll be reading this, lab 51, next week in preparation for writing your final draft. But today I want you to get thinking about it and take a stab at it tonight. Of course, what you're using is research that you've been doing, hopefully you've been doing. It won't be due today. It's due, I think, on the weekend. If it's not due on the weekend, I'm going to change it so it will be. So it'll be due Saturday, but I want you to go ahead and start writing it this week. This is going to be a busy week for you, probably the most busy week of all of them, I'm thinking. But let's get it done now so that we can finish the semester without too much stress at the end of the semester. So take a draft approach at this introduction. What you want to do is fold in some of the research and do some short, quick writing to just block out and take a stab at writing paragraphs. So what your introduction should cover, and this is in lab 51 also, it should cover what is the problem of interest. So this is your research problem that you're going to investigate. So for example, if it was which kind of music makes plants grow faster, then you would say that's what the problem of interest is. You have plants, you want to maximize their growth, but some plants have trouble growing in certain conditions. Does music even make a difference? So that's your problem. So you state the problem. And you can state it in certain ways like it's difficult to grow plants under adverse conditions, or sometimes growing plants runs into problems because of the environment. Some way of stating that problem. That's your first paragraph. Here's what the problem is. And then you can use a little bit of data. Like you could say, plants have a number of challenges in surviving. For example, some plants don't get enough care. Some plants don't get enough access to oxygen or carbon dioxide. Some plants don't get enough water, or light, something. And so you expand on the problem of interest so people really understand it. Then you make a link between the problem and the past research. So you could say one thing people have looked into for plants is the sound environment. In other words, what kind of sounds are they hearing? Are plants that are grown with music, does that make a difference? Okay, so there's your link. And then you summarize the relevant past research, not all of the research. Of course, you don't have to do exhaustive research here. You're looking at what's relevant. So you don't look up how do plants grow. You look up how, plants and music growth. So you'd look that up because that's what's relevant. And so after you make that link, then you say, well, here's what past research has found in terms of music and plants. And then you talk about what's going to happen in this research. This research is going to look at, and then you make it your specific proposal. And you state what your hypotheses are. So you can take a look at some research articles. I'm going to give you some to look at. They'll be in your modules as links that you can click on, as well as here on screen. Of course, you can't click on them here on the screen, but I'll give them to you. And so as you look at those, if you feel like you need to, you can look at the principles shown in those examples. I highly recommend looking at a number of examples in the literature before you write your own. It'll make it so much easier. So instead of thinking, oh, I'm going to save time, I'm not going to look, I'm just going to start writing. I think it will take you a lot less time to look at what else is out there, what examples look like, and then use that knowledge to write. I think it will be much easier in the long run. So it might feel like it's taking longer right now. Actually, I think it will save you time and take much less time overall. And so you look at the principles of what do you see in introductions that are out there. So they kind of tell a story. So think of it as, you're not doing a string of quotes. So if you submit a string of quotes, I will just send it back to you and I will tell you no quotes. You have to read and understand and be able to put the article in your own words. If you're just using quotes, the reader has a really hard time following that. It's very disjointed. It's not put into a story. So you want to tell a story. You want your story to provide a rationale for the study. It has to be kind of like a logical progression. For example, this happened, then this, therefore this. That's what you're doing with your story. This, therefore this. So this will give you the background and tell the person why it is that your study is important. So there are lots of formulas in how to do it. I like kind of a 4-paragraph formula. And then I guess it would be 5 paragraphs. The end paragraph is your hypothesis. So I kind of don't count that as part of the introduction. It's sort of like the last paragraph, yes, technically of the introduction. But this method of constructing an introduction looks at 4 primary paragraphs. Like the first one says, here's the problem. The second one says, here's a little bit of history, the connection. Here's what's been left out so far. Maybe that's part of your introduction. And then here's how my study will add. Here's the purpose of my study. That's a way of looking at it. Here are the examples. I will leave these in the module so that you can link to them if you want to take a look at some articles that demonstrate how to write a decent introduction so you get a sense of what that looks like in real life. So I want you to practice making your own introduction. Use your research on your problem, your research problem that you identified. And so you laid out 3 different kinds. You can choose one. Start looking into the literature. And so start reading information so that you can get a sense of how much it connects to past research. Summarize and integrate that research and put it into an introduction. So it's kind of a big project. I'm not going to tell you it's only going to take you an hour, because it shouldn't only take you an hour. That would be nuts. Here's my suggestion. If you can't find information in your research very easily, it probably would be easier for you to switch to a different topic. So instead of trying to willfully wrangle some stuff out of the literature that may not really be there, or that might be really, really hard to find, the purpose of this is not to do that. The purpose is just to teach you how to put it together. So switch your topic to something that's a little easier, if that's the case. We've done a lot of investigating various ways of looking at creating ideas for studies. We talked about using a measure and creating an idea from the measure. We talked about looking at different ways of manipulating variables, of dependent variables, etc. So there should be a fair amount that you've received already to help you make this plan. If you're having trouble, and this is really important, if you're really lost and you're having trouble and you've worked on this for like an hour on your own and you cannot make any headway, set up a time to call me. I expect you to have done some work before you call, so that there are things that you've tried. But if you're stuck and you're frustrated, please set up a time to have a discussion with me. I want to help you with this, and I can help you individually. Just email me. We'll find a time to talk. So think about, what do you wish you knew more? What was frustrating? What helped? What do you need to do now to know now? You can give me some feedback. Go take a stab at this and start writing your introduction using what you've learned so far. Next time we will talk about data collection. That will be on Thursday. So good luck writing the intro. Enjoy that, or try to enjoy it. Again, I'm here to help you. And so set up a time with me if you need help. And comments, you can email me if you feel like you want much more information on something that we haven't finished yet.